All right, I am back, finally. I know I said I was going to make a follow-up video to my first, and so that's what this is. I was surprised, I have like 2 videos on my YouTube channel, and it seems like several people were actually interested in the follow-up, so I apologize for the long wait, but this is going to be just me talking about the NVG30 digital night vision monocular, my experiences now that I've had it for a little while longer, had a chance to do some more things with it. In my first video, I was just giving initial impressions. Now I would say this is by no means like a full heavy use review, but these are just some more thoughts. And I said in my first video that it was really geared towards filling in some gaps that I thought existed in what people were speaking about with the unit. So I used to own a Gen 3 monocular analog, and I sort of took a step back. You can see I've actually taken a step backwards with my bump helmet too since my last video, because I decided that I didn't need a $300 skateboard helmet. A Team Wendy bump is what I had. And so yes, I gave some money to China, but I took the rest of the money from selling my bump and turned it into other stuff. So anyway, but here we are. Just gonna give some thoughts on the overall performance of the unit, specifically how it performs when you're moving, walking, running, the field of view, some of the things that I mentioned in my first video, but I've just had a chance to play around with the unit in different contexts more. So you'll see I've got some B-roll. It's all pretty low quality as well, but I'll just talk over it, and like with the first video, I hope this helps someone out.
All right, so the first thing to say is that whatever you see in terms of this video and the capture quality of the camera, it's going to be sort of one step down from what you'll actually see with your eyes to the unit. That said, overall image quality is pretty good. It might not look like it, but that's for the reason that I already said. Light transmission, I wouldn't say is great. Having had more of a chance to use the unit, I would say that it struggles compared to an analog unit when it comes to just overall light transmission. You'll see here in these clips, I'm looking up at the stars. With my analog unit, I would see the entire belt of the Milky Way stretching out before me, and it was pretty stinking awesome. With the digital unit, you can see more than you'll be able to see with a naked eye, but just a little bit of extra, not much beyond that. In a second here, you'll see a clip of me standing on a mountaintop, and this is similar to looking up at the sky. With my analog unit, I could just see for miles, all kinds of details. If someone had a light on in their bedroom 20 miles away, I could see it. Not so much with the digital unit. You almost can't even tell the night vision is on. Now, there is a built-in IR illuminator, but that can cause problems if you're like me and you want to be able to play around with guns and use your night vision, because it's going to bounce off the back of whatever optic you have and just wash it all like crazy. Now, that's not unique to the digital night vision, so that's why I run a helmet-mounted IR flashlight, or I put it on my rifle. You can kind of see me dorking around in this clip, and eventually I just shut off the IR illuminator on the unit and turn on the one that's mounted on my rifle. And just taking a look at some deer here. See, once I get that all sorted out, it's actually pretty nice. This is why I say if you're using this unit for stationary observation or hunting, it's not bad as long as you pair it with an IR illuminator. And I'll actually just say that I usually run the digital zoom feature on for stuff like this. And so you obviously are going to lose some image quality when you're zoomed in to 2 to 3x. And so you see that here. The quality would look better if I wasn't zoomed in, but I just usually zoom in when I'm looking at animals or anything like this. I know I sung its praises in my first video, and I stand by that. It's really helpful, very cool to be able to just quick zoom. You'll see in this clip, I'm kind of playing around with my magnifier on my rifle, and it really stinks trying to line up 3 different pieces of glass, and you get a huge degradation in quality, not to mention it's hard to just line them all up, ergonomically speaking. I switch over to a digital zoom here, and you can see that I get a much better picture than when I was trying to use my 3x magnifier. Is it great? No. But I will say I've shot a rat at night in the rain at 25 yards using the digital zoom, so it's not useless. All right, so now the Achilles heel of this unit, which I mentioned in my first video, and more time on it has just sort of solidified that for me. And that is when it comes to movement and actually navigating around difficult terrain. So there's two main reasons. Number one is the fact that you're looking at a digital display versus looking through glass that's doing night vision magic, if that makes any sense. You won't see it in these clips of me running, but your eye is trying to focus on a screen that's a half an inch away from your eyeball. It's just, it's a losing battle, right? So when you start to run, what you're actually going to see is a gigantic blur, and that's not great. Uh, the other thing is that when you do start to move faster, you do notice the lag a little bit. And I guess last, if I could add a third thing to that, is that square display, which really cuts off some of your peripheral vision, which can be very helpful for navigating rough terrain. For example, here's a clip of me and a buddy on the early ascent up a mountain that I climbed a lot with my night vision. And normally I would keep my eye glued kind of like a 45-degree angle so I could see my feet to give myself the depth perception to make sure I was going to trip over things. But I could also see in front of myself enough that I was able to actually move forward and navigate. But with that square display, it just seems like the field of view is so limited that you can't really do that effectively. And that makes a huge difference when you're trying to do things like walk over rocks or stumps or even go uphill. Finally, I did try to drive with this thing, and all I'll say is that unless you're driving through an open field or on a dirt road at 5 miles an hour, God help you. You will notice the lag. It will be terrible. You will notice the limited field of view, and it will also be terrible.
All right, here we are again, back with me. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is just a couple more equipment specifics that I said I would follow up on. Number one is I did buy a new mount, and that did improve the issues that I had with the manufacturer's mount just not rotating down far enough in front of your face. So this is just a knockoff Neurotos. There's knockoff Wilcox's, and as far as I can tell, they work fine. The angle, though, I mentioned that before, and I'll say it again. The angle can get you in trouble when it comes to how the binocular is pointed compared to your eyeball. And what I mean by that is if it's not lined up perfectly for your eye to actually focus on the screen, everything will look blurry. And for the longest time, I just could not figure out what the deal was with this. And then I realized that I need to change my counterweight. So stupid, simple, but just make sure your counterweight is set up to balance this helmet and align it on your head perfectly. Otherwise, you will see everything in the screen start to blur. And if you're trying to shoot something, that's going to make a huge difference. I mean, that's about all I have to say in terms of the actual unit itself. It's cool that it can record. That's a really nice feature, especially I think as I do more night hunting in the future. I'm going to lean on that. It's got different color modes. Those are kind of cool. You saw in one of those clips I changed it to the green. And sometimes, white versus green, people argue about that all day, but it can make a difference in terms of what you can actually see. I think the green in that clip just brought out more detail. But regardless, not a whole lot to say about the unit itself. It's pretty stellar. The controls are not bad once you get used to them. It works. Maybe if I could add one thing to that, it would be that the objective lens rotates a little too easy. So you might accidentally bump it, and next thing you know, your focus is kind of messed up. But whatever, not a big deal. It's a $400 unit. Okay, so takeaways in this thing. Basically what I said in my first video, but more so. This is not great for any sort of navigation over rough terrain or moving fast, not for running and gunning, but for stationary observation or hunting, I'd say it's great. And then on the whole, if you're comparing it to nothing, which people forget to do that when it comes to night vision, if you compare it to nothing, it's pretty good. I think it's worth the price, definitely, if you know what you're getting into with it and you're going to use it for things that it can handle. If you're going to try to take this out and bring it to Milson West, just know that your performance is going to be not as good as those people with analog units. It is what it is. Am I happy with my decision? Yeah, it was the right decision for me to go from analog to step back into this thing. Would I recommend it if you have the money for an analog unit? Obviously not, right? But if you don't, for 400 bucks, if you want to take this thing out and hunt with your buddies, that's the thing, is you and your buddies can probably actually afford this. Whereas I hazard a guess you and your buddies probably can't all drop $2,000 on individual analog night vision setups. So that's the gist of it. I hope this video has been somewhat useful for you guys. And if anyone has any further questions, anything in detail, just drop a comment and I'll gladly answer. I don't have much more to say about it, so I really did try to put everything in this video. But if you want to know about something in the specs, details, whatever, hit me up. All right, that's all I got.